Have you ever walked past someone in need, unsure of what to do? Maybe you saw someone stranded on the side of the road, or a person sitting alone with their head down, or a friend who looked like they were holding back tears. You wanted to help, but something in you hesitated. You told yourself, someone else will handle it. We've all had those moments. Moments where compassion and caution wrestle in our hearts. This story is about one of those moments, a story that Jesus told to help people understand what it truly means to love your neighbor. It's not about religion. It's not about who's good or bad. It's about compassion, the kind that crosses lines, costs something, and changes lives. Let's travel back in time, to a dusty road, where one man's simple act of kindness became a lesson for the world. The road between Jerusalem and Jericho was long, steep, and rough. Travelers avoided it if they could because everyone knew it was dangerous. Thieves often hid behind boulders or in caves, waiting for someone to pass by alone. And one day, a man set out on that very road. Maybe he was a merchant, or just someone traveling home. His sandals scraped against the dirt. He wiped the sweat from his forehead. The sun beat down, and all he could think about was getting to Jericho before dark. But just as he turned a corner between two rocky cliffs, it happened. Shadows moved. Rough hands grabbed him. Voices shouted. The robbers attacked before he even knew what was happening. They beat him, ripped his clothes, and took everything, his money, his food, even his dignity. When they were done, they left him bleeding and broken on the side of the road. The man tried to move, but pain shot through his body. The world blurred. He was alone, helpless, and afraid. Hours passed. The sun started to sink lower in the sky. And then, faintly, he heard footsteps. Through half-open eyes, he saw someone approaching, a priest. A man of God. Someone who spent his days teaching, praying, and offering sacrifices in the temple. If anyone would stop, surely it would be him. Hope flickered in the wounded man's heart. But as the priest came closer, he slowed down. His eyes met the man's, just for a moment, then quickly shifted away. He crossed to the other side of the road. Maybe he told himself, it's too dangerous. The robbers might still be nearby. Or maybe he thought, I can't touch him. If he's dead, I'll be unclean. Whatever the reason, he kept walking, sandals crunching against gravel, until he disappeared from sight. The wounded man's heart sank. His last bit of strength slipped away. A little while later, another traveler appeared. This one was a Levite, someone who also worked in the temple. He helped lead worship and cared for the sacred things of God. Surely he would stop. The man's weak eyes followed the Levite's steps. But again, the same thing happened. The Levite noticed the man, hesitated for a moment, and then stepped to the far side of the road, walking past without a word. Maybe he felt pity. Maybe he whispered a prayer. But he didn't stop. The road grew quiet again. Only the sound of wind and the distant call of birds filled the air. The injured man lay still. His hope was almost gone. Then, the sound of hooves. A donkey approached, its rider humming softly as he came down the dusty path. As the figure came into view, the wounded man realized something: the traveler was a Samaritan. That wasn't good news. Jews and Samaritans didn't get along at all. Their people had argued and avoided each other for generations. They lived in separate places, worshipped separately, and rarely spoke kindly to one another. If the priest and Levite, fellow Jews, had ignored him, surely this Samaritan wouldn't bother to help. But then, the unexpected happened. When the Samaritan saw the man lying in the dirt, everything in him stopped. He didn't see an enemy. He saw a person in pain. His heart was filled with compassion. He climbed down from his donkey, knelt beside the man, and gently began cleaning his wounds. He poured wine to disinfect, oil to soothe, and tore pieces of his cloth to use as bandages. The man could barely whisper, but tears filled his eyes. Someone finally cared. Then, with great effort, the Samaritan lifted him onto his donkey. He walked beside the animal slowly, guiding it down the road until they reached a nearby inn. At the inn, the Samaritan helped the man inside and found him a place to rest. He stayed the night, checking on him, changing his bandages, and making sure he was comfortable. By morning, the man was still weak, but safe. The Samaritan had to continue his journey, but he didn't just leave the man there. He reached into his bag, pulled out 2 silver coins, and handed them to the innkeeper. "Please take care of him," he said. "If this isn't enough, I'll pay you back when I return." Then he smiled, gave the man one last reassuring look, and quietly went on his way. He didn't help for attention. He didn't help for a reward. He helped because it was the right thing to do. Later, when Jesus told this story, he was talking to a man, a lawyer, who had asked, "Who is my neighbor?" Jesus ended the story by asking, which of these 3, the priest, the Levite, or the Samaritan, was a neighbor to the man who was attacked. The lawyer replied, "The one who showed mercy." And Jesus said, "Go and do likewise." Simple words. Powerful meaning. Now, pause for a second. This story isn't just about a road in Israel. It's about our everyday roads, the hallways we walk through, the cities we drive across, the people we pass at work, at school, or online. Every day, we walk past people who are hurting. They might not be bleeding or lying in the street, but their pain is real. The coworker who hides their struggles behind a smile. The neighbor who's lonely but too proud to ask for help. The friend who stopped calling because they feel forgotten. And sometimes, we're the priest or the Levite, too busy, too distracted, or too afraid to get involved. We tell ourselves, someone else will help. But deep down, we know, we are that someone. Compassion is rarely convenient. It often shows up when it costs us something, time, comfort, or pride. But that's exactly what makes it powerful. The Samaritan didn't see a stranger, he saw a brother. He didn't ask what the man believed, where he was from, or if he deserved help. He simply saw a need and responded. That's what real love looks like, not just words or feelings, but action. If Jesus told this story today, maybe it would sound like this. A woman's car breaks down on a lonely highway. People drive past, a businessman rushing to a meeting, a church member heading to choir practice, a driver who looks and keeps going. Then, a stranger, maybe someone who doesn't even share her faith or background, pulls over. He helps her fix the tire, makes sure she's safe, and goes on his way. That's the Good Samaritan today. It's the person who stops to listen when everyone else is too busy. The one who donates, volunteers, or simply says, "Are you okay?" It's the friend who checks in, the neighbor who notices, the stranger who cares. Sometimes the smallest act, a word, a gesture, a helping hand, can change someone's entire day, even their entire life. So why don't we help more often? Maybe we're afraid. Maybe we think, I don't have enough to give. Or maybe we've been hurt before, and it's made us cautious. But love, real love, doesn't wait until it's convenient. The Samaritan didn't wait for the perfect moment. He didn't have all the supplies. He didn't stop because it was easy. He stopped because compassion moved him. When we allow our hearts to be guided by compassion, the barriers we've built, prejudice, fear, indifference, start to fall away. Because kindness doesn't ask for qualifications. It doesn't check background or status. It just acts. Here's the beautiful thing about kindness, it spreads. When one person chooses to show love, it creates a ripple that reaches farther than we realize. Think about it, that innkeeper who watched the Samaritan care for the wounded man probably never forgot it. Maybe it changed how he treated travelers afterward. Maybe he helped someone the next week because of what he saw. That's how compassion works. One act can inspire another. You never know who's watching when you choose to do the right thing. So, ask yourself, if you had been on that road, what would you have done? Would you have walked past, telling yourself it wasn't your problem? Or would you have stopped, even if it cost you something? We like to think we'd be the Samaritan. But sometimes we need to admit that we've been the priest or the Levite too. And that's okay, because awareness is the first step toward change. Every day, life gives us little opportunities to be someone's Good Samaritan. It could be as small as helping a stranger carry a bag, sending an encouraging message, or giving someone your full attention when they need it most. You don't have to fix everything. You just have to care. The world loves to divide, by race, religion, politics, and background. But compassion sees beyond that. Jesus told this story not to shame the priest or the Levite, but to remind us that love has no boundaries. The Samaritan didn't care who the man was, he cared that he was hurting. And that's what God calls us to do, to love people, not because they look like us or think like us, but because they're people. When we love without boundaries, we reflect the heart of God. So here's the challenge: the next time you see someone in need, big or small, pause. Don't rush past. Don't overthink. Just ask yourself, what would love do right now? Maybe love listens. Maybe love helps. Maybe love gives. Whatever it looks like, do it. Because that's where faith becomes real, not just in words, but in action. Imagine if everyone who watched this story decided to live like that Samaritan, even just for a day. How many people would feel seen? How many lives would change? Maybe kindness would become the new normal. Maybe compassion would outshine fear. It starts small, with one choice, one moment, one heart willing to stop. The world doesn't need more noise or judgment. It needs more people who care enough to act. So, who are you in this story today? Are you the traveler, hurt, waiting for someone to notice your pain? Are you the priest or the Levite, busy, distracted, or afraid to get involved? Or are you the Samaritan, willing to love beyond limits? Wherever you are in the story, know this: God's compassion meets you where you are, and invites you to pass it on. Because every time you choose kindness, you're bringing light to a dark road. If this story touched your heart, think of one person you can show kindness to today. It doesn't have to be big, even a simple gesture can mean the world. The parable of the Good Samaritan reminds us that love isn't just a feeling, it's something we do. So go out there and be someone's reason to hope again. Thank you for watching. May your heart be open, your steps guided by compassion, and your life filled with love that reaches beyond boundaries. And remember, kindness is never wasted.